Vivek Ramaswamy, political performance artist. He has no government experience, but plenty of conspiratorial demagoguery to sell. A particularly low point of last week's GOP presidential debate came at around the 39-minute mark, when an unusually glib, shallow, overbearing, smooth-talking biotech entrepreneur proclaimed himself the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for. That's when most Americans, and most Republicans, got their first real look at Vivek Ramaswamy. The candidate offered no proof for his charge. He didn't care that his opponents have more than 123 years of public service among them, serving as vice president, governor, senator, representative, drug enforcement agency administrator, undersecretary of Homeland Security, U.S. attorney, state legislator, county council member and combat veteran. Mr. Ramaswamy's public service? None. That's ironic given that at 18 he asked the Reverend Al Sharpton, a candidate for the 2004 Democratic presidential nomination, at an MSNBC forum, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience? Add to the mix that Mr. Ramaswamy was evidently so uninterested in the nation's direction that he couldn't be bothered to vote in the 2008, 2012 and 2016 presidential elections. Mr. Ramaswamy's bought and paid for comment was part of a pattern of demagoguery. He regularly appeals to voters' conspiratorial instincts. During a conversation with The Atlantic's John Hendrickson, he said, "I think it is legitimate to say how many police, how many federal agents, were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. Maybe the answer is zero. It probably is zero for all I know, right? I have no reason to think it was anything other than zero. But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on September 11th, we have a 9/11 commission, absolutely that should be an answer the public knows the answer to." Mr. Ramaswamy later claimed he was misquoted. That is a lie, his grotesque comments are on tape. We know exactly who was on those planes. Their names are memorialized at the National September 11th Memorial Museum and solemnly read each year in a ceremony at Ground Zero. A distinguished commission issued a report on September 11th, which found that Islamic fanatics attacked America. Why would Mr. Ramaswamy suggest otherwise? Does he think there's something to be gained from disrespecting the law enforcement officers who were victims of the attacks rather than blaming their terrorist perpetrators? Mr. Ramaswamy is quick to disregard the truth when it's politically expedient. Discussing the January 6, 2021, Capitol riots with Tucker Carlson at the Iowa Family Leadership Summit in July, the GOP hopeful said, "What caused January 6 is pervasive censorship. When you tell people they cannot scream," he explained, "that is when they tear things down." It didn't matter to Mr. Ramaswamy that President Trump's stolen election claims got their day in court and couldn't be proved. Or that the militia members, Proud Boys and an outright mob Mr. Trump whipped up on the Capitol steps weren't merely trying to scream. They beat police officers bloody trying to stop a joint session of Congress. How weird for a person seeking to represent a party that once championed law and order to excuse this sort of behavior. There's more. During a New Hampshire QVEA in June, a voter claimed the Federal Reserve is illegally taking money out the back door, not through the proper channels, or adding zeros to bank accounts to the media or maybe your political opponents. He asked Mr. Ramaswamy, "How are you going to stop that illegal under-the-table spending of money from the Federal Reserve?" With a sign behind him emblazoned with the word "truth," Mr. Ramaswamy indulged the crank rather than set him straight. You're correct to point out what very few people are aware of. Absolutely, that happens. No, it doesn't. It's easy to dismiss Mr. Ramaswamy as a present-day Professor Harold Hill, the con man in The Music Man with a ready smile and rapid patter skinning the citizens of River City. But Hill wanted only to sell band uniforms and musical instruments. Mr. Ramaswamy wants to control America's nuclear codes, or perhaps to occupy a comfortable seat in Mr. Trump's cabinet. He is a performance artist who says outrageous things, smears his opponents and appeals to the dark parts of the American psyche. There's already a GOP candidate who does all those things, and worse. Republicans deserve a choice, not an echo. Vivek Ramaswamy, political performance artist. He has no government experience, but plenty of conspiratorial demagoguery to sell. A particularly low point of last week's GOP presidential debate came at around the 39-minute mark, when an unusually glib, shallow, overbearing, smooth-talking biotech entrepreneur proclaimed himself the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for. That's when most Americans. Vivek Ramaswamy is very annoying. It's why he's surging in the polls. Of all the descriptors attached to Vivek Ramaswamy, the 38-year-old political tyro enjoying a bizarre surge in the Republican primary race for second place, the most common one seems to be annoying. After the Republican presidential primary debate on Wednesday, a Politico headline quoted a party strategist about Ramaswamy's performance: "It just got to be annoying." In a widely shared essay, the writer Josh Barrow, a Harvard contemporary of Ramaswamy, probed the quality that makes Vivek so annoying. CNN's C. Cup called him, in a column, obnoxious, annoying, disrespectful, inexperienced, conspiratorial. Matt Lewis, an anti-Trump conservative writer for the Daily Beast, marveled that there are some who actually like Ramaswamy's cocky, know-it-all persona. As Seinfeld might say, who are these people? The answer, of course, is much of the Republican Party. The Washington Post, 538 and Ipsos polled likely Republican primary voters before and after last week's debate. Following his performance, Ramaswamy's favorability rating rose from 50% to 60%, even though his unfavorability rating rose even more, from 13% to 32%. Participants in a CNN focus group of Iowa Republicans declared him the debate's winner, as did a poll released on Thursday from JL Partners. The day after the debate, his campaign reportedly raised more than $1 million. The question is what Ramaswamy's supporters see in this irksome figure. Some Republicans, clearly, appreciate the way he sucks up to Donald Trump, whom Ramaswamy has called the best president of the 21st century. But that doesn't explain the roughly 10% of Republicans who tell pollsters they're planning to vote for Ramaswamy instead of Trump. It can't only be his shtick as Fox News' woke and cancel culture guru, as one anchor called him, since at this point even the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has learned that railing against wokeness is a losing message. Nor is Ramaswamy's appeal tailored to the downwardly mobile Trump voters who appreciated the former president's pledges to protect their entitlements, since Ramaswamy's promise to dismantle Lyndon Johnson's failed Great Society makes Paul Ryan look like a social democrat. Instead, I suspect that Ramaswamy's fans are drawn to him for all the reasons his critics find him insufferable. Conservatives love being championed by representatives of groups that they think disdain them. Despite the right's deep resentment of the entertainment industry, Republicans tend to adore celebrity candidates, from Ronald Reagan to Arnold Schwarzenegger